Hello everyone, welcome to Toti Talk. Within this podcast series, we're going to talk about agriculture and mechanization. And today we're going to talk with Professor István Szabo from Hungary, who is also Chief Editor of Mezőgazdasági Technika. Hello István, how are you doing today?
Hi Fabio, I'm great and thank you very much for having me for this very interesting initiative. Talking about agriculture and tractors, it's always a very interesting thing for me.
My pleasure having you here. So the first question for you, it will be actually a little introduction about yourself, about your professional experience and about your media.
Oh, well, I'm mechanical engineer, agriculture mechanical engineer, more precisely. I graduated from this university where I work right now. I'm the professor of different agricultural technologies, and we have altogether some 14,000 students. So different aspects of agriculture and mechanization and technologies are covered by the subjects, and also the research is related to this. But more importantly, we also proud publisher of Mezőgazdasági Technika, as you mentioned. This is the leading monthly journal in Hungary addressing different issues regarding the machineries and technologies applied in all sectors of agrobusiness. It's a journal with history. We just started the 64th year, so we have a long history of publishing this newspaper. This journal is quite unique in multiple reasons. First of all, this type of journals usually not published by a university, by a professional organization of higher education, and that's a good point, because we can bring all the research topics and the latest developments into the journal, and that's a value for our leaders. So we of course employ some professional journalists, but also my colleagues from the departments are active in writing some articles. We publish it both in print version and online version, and that's a great opportunity to reach as many readers as possible. Also, our journal is unique in a way that we are dealing not just with the latest developments in terms of machineries, tractors, or different technologies, but also in each issue we publish a research paper. So we want to show the readers where is the frontier, where is the cutting edge in terms of research. Each and every issue has also a section for practical advice to the farmers and contractors, and also we have some regular series of articles on the history of agriculture machinery. So it's a quite comprehensive journal and very interesting. We try to make it as interesting as possible for both those who would like to purchase the next tractor or the next seeder, but also for those who are interested in the research or even in the history of agricultural machineries. So it's a very interesting, and on the cover page, this is an audio podcast, but in front of me I have the latest issue of this journal, and on the cover page there is the Tractor of the Year logo. So we are very proud to be part of this initiative, and I'm very glad that we can contribute to the success of Toti.
Thank you, István. Second question for you is about new technologies such as robot, autonomous driving, digitalization, and precision farming. So, István, based on your professional experience, could you give us a general overview from your perspective?
Oh yeah, that's a very interesting topic. Agriculture has always been a driver for new technologies and innovation, and that's also the case in Hungary. I'm absolutely sure, I'm positive that there is a direct link between the development of agriculture of a country like Hungary and the general prosperity of the country. Just one example, in Hungary in 1990, so it was not that long time ago, 30 years ago roughly, the total employment in the agriculture sector was 14%. So all the employed people, out of them 14% were employed by agriculture. Today it is only 4%. That's a significant decrease in employment, but we need to produce the same or even more. So today agriculture is about how we can produce more from less input, including less input in terms of human resources. And that's why your question is absolutely valid today. So how can we make the necessary technical development? How can we make the necessary advancement in automation and robot technology to replace in some way the human resource? And how can we make agriculture more attractive for the people? Robots and autonomous tractors are absolutely a hot topic today in the Hungarian agriculture, and I think that's the same all over Europe. Why? Because first of all, it's getting more and more available. So it's not just a fantasy or a science fiction any longer, it's absolutely a practice. It's available in financial terms, so one can afford to apply that technology, and also it's available technically. So it's available. It has already been discovered. It has already been introduced somehow. So that's why this is quite interesting today. What I want to summarize in a few sentences that sometimes we are talking about robots and sometimes we talking about autonomous tractors. These two categories are, of course, not the same. A robot can be a stable, fixed location manipulator, or can be a self-propelled mobile machine moving on or even flying over the field. While autonomous tractor is a tractor which has a certain level of automation. Both are actual. Both became available for agriculture, but what is more interesting for us is probably the autonomous tractors, because Toti is about tractors after all. No, the level of autonomy when we are talking about tractors can be different. Zero level autonomy means the old-fashioned tractor, and the highest possible level of autonomy is something where no cabin can be even experienced on the tractor, so no operator is needed. And the autonomy can be partial. The entry level autonomy is when the operator has no task in implement control, so the implement or the attachment is operating alone, adjusting itself in a smart way. Or also the entry level autonomy is when the operator receives some assistance in driving the tractor, no need for steering. But of course, full autonomous operation is a more complex issue, and that requires some additional development. First of all, the legal framework should be set up. So in legal terms, it's quite complex to have machineries like tractors or automobiles without drivers, or with drivers without control. Probably in the future, controlled environments will come up in agriculture, and not just in greenhouses. So it will be some area where it will be obvious that machineries are operating alone, autonomously. So it should be somehow a closed system, and that can be supported by legal settings as well. Also, if we are talking about autonomous tractors, then data management is becoming crucial. So if we want to use tractors which are absolutely autonomous, so no need for drivers, then we will require lots of data about the environment. We will need lots of information about the environment, and in the background we will need a huge computing power to assess this data and to make the decision regarding the operation of the tractors. Summing up, I'm sure that autonomous tractors will be available. Totally autonomous tractors will be available very soon. Today, as research solutions, you can see them. Even you can purchase some, but a full-scale autonomous tractor, we have a fleet of autonomous tractors in farms. That's the question of the future, of the near future. One more aspect, when we are talking about tractors, sometimes we think that tractor is big machinery with the horsepower of 200 and a huge diesel engine installed in it, but it's controlled somehow by a computer. Autonomous tractors can be different. It can be much smaller, maybe even electric drive will be applied, because in small scales, electric drive chain is absolutely possible. And that's what some of the companies are doing today. So they are developing smaller types of tractors, and in some cases these tractors are working as a group, or in many cases they call it swarm. So they watch each other and they collect the information separately, but they share what they realize or what they know about the environment, and that's a very interesting perspective for us, and I'm sure that it will come very soon. Today you can see them on exhibitions. Today you can see some of the field robots which make some limited operation. That's okay. That's the first step. Last time in Bologna we could see a couple of them, and that was amazing. But in the future it will be more mainstream. It will become more mainstream because, as I told you, we have less people in agriculture, and we need to produce more, and not just in terms of fertilizer or pesticide or water, but also in terms of human resources. And it's not just the open field issue. Of course, in a greenhouse, it's much more visible, because in controlled environments, robots are available even today. Or in animal husbandries, it's again, feeding robots are quite common, or milking robots are quite common. But as total strategy for agriculture, that will be the next step. One more issue, if we sometimes quote the term precision agriculture, and sometimes we mention digital agriculture, digitized agriculture. These are not the same. Precision means that we have the old-fashioned technology, but we just watch carefully how to use the resources. And that's okay. That's a huge step ahead. Digital technologies means that we have a digital production system. So when everything is linked with everything, and data is the key issue between the agents of different units, so between the tractor and the seeder and the farm management unit and the weather station and the farm office. So when we will use more data, when we will make decisions based on data, and probably when we will use artificial intelligence to solve very complex production questions, then we will have the digital transformation of agriculture. The first step of that is definitely how we can control more precisely the operation with an operator or without the operator sitting in the tractor. We had great revolutions in agriculture in the past couple of thousand years. Maybe the first big revolution for the mankind was creating agriculture. That made it possible to have huge settlements, cities or towns and villages, because there was a chance to produce the food in one place. That was agriculture. And then we come up with the mechanical issues, discovering the plow or animal forces. Then we discovered the potential of tractors. Engines came into the pictures. Then the green revolution with the fertilizers and pesticides and things like that. And the last step was this precision agriculture. Now we are ready for the next phase, and that's the digital era. So my university, we started to teach such things for agriculture students as data science. That's very interesting. How to cope with huge amount of data. A tractor onboard information system of a tractor is producing tons of data. A harvesting machine produces tons of data. Not real tons of data, huge amount of data. Sometimes these data may be as valuable as the product itself. That's an interesting word. If you want to sell your wheat on the market, it's good to know what the price will be, and the harvesting machinery knows first. The harvesting machinery knows first what is the yield, and that can affect the price. So it's a very complex issue. We teach data science and we teach IoT, Internet of Things. How can we connect sensors and computers, and how can we use the yield of these systems in terms of data for better decision making.
Thank you, István. Actually, it was very interesting, and for sure it could take a couple of hours to get deeper into these subjects. So thank you for this wide and interesting explanation. Last thing that I would like to ask you, actually, it's in your capacity of university professor. As far as I know, you're involved with some international agriculture project. Is there any particular project that you're following in this period?
First of all, what we do is really very international. We have students from 107 countries. So it means that we have links with 107 countries. Or alumni goes back and we just try to maintain the partnership with them, and that's fascinating. But the real question is what we do as a university in terms of engineering and agricultural engineering. We have quite a lot of projects, and nowadays I would say that the majority of them are related somehow to digital technologies. So we are developing new solutions for tractors, new solutions for attachments, and we cooperate with quite big companies, ACCO or Class among the major partners in this field, but smaller companies are also in touch with us in some research or training projects. One example, it is probably the easiest to describe our activities. We are developing onboard technologies for implements. How can we collect soil data, not using soil sensors, direct soil sensors, but implements, soil attachments like a plow or like a cultivator. So how can we apply how can we apply for this purpose conventional technologies, and how can we turn a conventional plow into a soil sensing equipment? That's quite interesting. We also have quite interesting projects in closed controlled agriculture system, like greenhouse technology development. We are applying artificial intelligence in monitoring the development of the plants in greenhouses, and that's an excellent project. Our main focus is today on lighting, and also on the how to control the input materials to maintain the highest possible dynamics of growth of the plant. That's cameras and computers, and it's very interesting. And not just to see on the mobile telephone how the greenhouse is operating, but the system behind is quite interesting. Or the latest we've been contracted by ESA, the European Space Agency. Space research is always interesting, but after all, if you want to travel to the Mars, then we will have to produce some food even on Mars. So we have a contract to develop two things. First is to I shall be very careful because there should be something about confidentiality, but that's not important. That's not that important. One part of the project is about how can we design reliable machineries for space use, and that's for agriculture. I mean, that's how the agriculture will work there, and how can we make it sure that it will be operational there in the conditions of Mars or even the Moon. The Moon is more difficult, but Mars is difficult as well. And also, how can we use controlled system agriculture in the space? That's what we do. We also have courses on that. So we have some students, I think 20 or 25 in Hungary, studying agriculture, space agriculture, because we want to train specialists for that level of technology. So we have quite interesting projects. Next time, if you will be in Hungary, I would be more than happy to show you around. Bring your camera, and then you can take lots of interesting photos.
All right, thank you, István. You definitely brought us from Hungarian lands to the Moon and to Mars. And let me say that it's always very interesting to listen to professional people like yourself with such a wide knowledge and culture. And we are now at the end of this episode, so thank you very much indeed to Professor István Szabo from Hungary. Toti Talk is the podcast powered by Tractor of the Year, the International Award for Agricultural Tractors. Follow us on our social media, and for more information about us, visit tractoroftheyear.org.